you will never know until that actually happens. It's like Back to the Future. Watch it, like, that was a cool idea back then, but maybe not so cool now. But something comes out of it. I think they. So you see that? If you tap on it, it's gonna get really pissed off. So, but if you pet it like that, it's gonna go to sleep. See, it's yawning. Yeah, it's yawning. Okay. I got more here. Okay, let's put it here. Okay, you guys ready? So, helicopter appears. Stop. Yeah. Another thing, for example, repetition, right? For each loop, don't worry about that. It's a simple thing. It's just how we repeat things. We do that every week. We go to school from Monday to Friday. If tomorrow holiday, don't go to school. So inside the repetition, you have a logic. Say, if a holiday, don't go to school. So daily life, how about changing and being a creator in digital world? Maybe in 10 years, maybe those kids will start that. Okay? Thank you.
I want to make movies. And then surprisingly, my parents said, okay, up to you. So I moved to Jakarta in 2006. I moved here and I worked with Hanung in a couple movies, like I Cinta and Get Married, like back then. And then my parents, and then I had a friend who was so generous, and he said that the biggest investment you can make is on people, and I want to give you $10,000 so you can go to school in the US. So he gave me $10,000, so I went to LA. I couldn't believe it, but it happened. I went to LA, I took a bachelor's degree in cinema for 3.5 years in Hollywood. And then Hanung contacted me again and said, hey, I'm making Habibi Ainun, so come back and be my co-director. It's like, sure. So I went back here. I worked in Habibi Ainun. I went to Germany, by the way. And then after that, I assisted the director of 9 Summers and Autumns, Iva Ispansha, in New York, because my husband is a New Yorker. And then I have this like really strong urge to come back to Surabaya. But I didn't know what I wanted to do. I wanted to make my own movie, I think. I wanted to write my own scripts and look for investors myself, and I want to make it. Because I don't want to work for other people. So I went back to Surabaya, and guess what happened? One day I made a cake, and then someone ordered even before I put a price tag on it. And I was like, okay, I'll make it for you. And starting there, I see an opportunity, and I made cakes. And I put it in social media. Everyone went crazy about it. And 3 months later, I had to sit down with my partners and figure out, okay, do we want to keep this as a side business, or we want to do this full time? I spent 8 years doing movies, right? I went to school for it, but what should I do now? But this cake business, the money is right here, and we get cash even before we made the cake, and we hit the momentum, like it's a tipping point. If you read the book, like we hit the momentum, and our brand is very famous in Surabaya. So again, I was reminded that the key to focus is elimination. I either choose one and excel in one, or do both, but both will fall apart.
Any accessible application, we already created some application for blind. Some of them are as a reminder. Even as a reminder is now a lot of as a reminder available in the market. But it is special as a reminder for Muslim because it is accessible. They are based on the audio system. Okay, created by ITCFB. And then else audio game for blind. Audio games means game without video or picture. How to play it? Just simple. Listen to the audio. So headset is compulsory.
Answer about what your answer is. So for Mr. Yasha, we have a plan. We have a question about: do you have any plans on experimenting technology for visual history, making history come alive visually?
Yeah, actually, that's one of the projects that I mentioned briefly. That's something that we're going to do over in the Mediterranean. We actually proposed something like that for museums here in Jakarta, but no sponsor has come up to finance that. So, but it's in the process. Just a little note. I also wanted to comment on what Karin said earlier about programming. I know no programming whatsoever. It's like none. So I have some other people do that for me. I help come up with the ideas. So I think it's about the ideas. It's good that I also meet Mas Aris here today because I do think a lot of technology should be used for other things. And I think it's not only augmented reality. I'm sorry, that augmented reality is so visual based, but it can be other things. I mean, if you go into this crowdfunding site called Kickstarter, anybody familiar with that? Yeah, basically, there's so many gadgets there that you can that people are proposing to make, but they don't have the funding yet. Just go there, you put in like $5,000 or maybe $5, but it's not. It can be anything. You can have like metronome or something that will buzz you. Like it will vibrate, so you can feel things. You don't really have to see things, or you don't have to hear. If you're in music, you have the metronome, but it doesn't really. But it doesn't click, 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 click. You just gonna go buzz, 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 buzz. So I think that's something that would be also useful for Mas Aris and his applications. Yeah. So that's all for me. It's technology. It really all depends on how you use it, what you use it for. All right. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Yasha. Next question is for Miss Karin. So female directors for example, in Hollywood have lesser attention than the male directors. Did you experience any of this? Can you just share briefly about that sort of experience here in Indonesia?
There are a lot of female filmmakers, not necessarily directors. Of course, directors, just to get up there is already really hard. And I'm sure because female, they get married, right? They give birth, they take care of the kids. Of course, their chance of being up there is not as big as a man who can just focus from the start and never stop at all, right? So, but it's not impossible. But for the filmmakers, like a camera man, because in movies there's so many different jobs, like editors. There's a lot of female editors. Screenwriters, because they can work from home, and then sound engineer, and then prop masters and stuff. There are a lot of females in the industry.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Ms. Karin. Up next for Mr. Wahyudi. How do you think the coding in Indonesia can improve within the next 5 years before 2020? Because it's going to be big, it's growing and growing and growing. So what do you think can improve, or what do you think can be done within the next 5 years?
Has to be a part of elementary school. That's it.
That's it. Be a part of elementary school. Love it. All right. Thanks so much, Mr. Wahyudi. And finally, for Mr. Aris, we have a question regarding the ITCFB. Could you explain how did that get started? How did you find that committee? And how long did it take for that to grow into what it is today?
Okay, thank you. ITCFB is started from the zero. We don't have money. We just share our money and build it together. So from the four person, and it is built in 2012, and then I think I don't know exactly how long should we will reach our goal, but it is still in process, and we believe that we cannot run by ourselves, so cooperation with other institution is more important for us. So it is your question, right? It is
Yes.
answer your question.
I think so. Okay, thanks so much, Ms. Aris. And finally, let's grab some questions from the audience. Does anybody have any questions from the audience that they would like?
I have a question. I understand that you're putting Indonesia, from what I gathered from the seminar, is that you're focusing on a lot of children and at least elementary school. But do you also realize that there's a huge community for women who really want to focus on coding because it's still a very male-dominated industry? Are you planning to tap into the women-female industry to kind of create that community as a start to maybe help entrepreneurs to get into coding because they are at home and so forth? So maybe you can share a little bit. That might be an expansion for you. Okay, thank you.
Alright, so actually I was so happy there's so many female here, not because of any objective, but I mean the message get there then. So last year December we worked together with the US Embassy. Again they have this campaign, woman coding, right? Girls coding actually. So they gather like junior high school students, female students from suburban area in Jakarta, and I teach them like for a month, 4 sessions actually. It's a campaign. I mean, it's a great idea to have a community that continue the process, right? I think we have here in Jakarta female coding or something like that. As I can do is actually I also open actually for adult coding, which is supposed to be started in November, next November. So we'll have adult coding, and amazingly some emails that come into my email asking for this class are females, right? So I think it will get there, for the male-female domination. And to be honest, many female programmer from the history is actually the one that introduced a lot of things that we use today. Right? In programming, I mean, the computer science students will know what we call debugging, basically finding error or issues in our program, right? It was popularized by a female programmer back in the 60s in the US. So, female is always part of programming industry actually. And the funny part is the first bug that found by her is actually a real bug. It's a fly. Right, so and the computer is very big. That the bug came in and then jammed the computer actually. So that's in one of this day when I stick in some issue, I was thinking like maybe there's a bug in my computer. Okay. So November, if any one of you want to join with our class, the class will be coding and coffee actually. So it's a Sunday afternoon. Very relaxing, really nice cafe store in Jakarta Selatan. So,
okay, thank you so much, Mr. Wahyudi. Let's have Brooke. We have time for one more question. Is there one more question from the audience? No more from the audience. All right. Well, we would like to thank our speakers. Can we give them one more round of applause today? Again, today's theme was a change in perspective. We learned from augmented reality, third dimension, fourth dimension, also bringing it back down to just one dimension from the ITCFB where they use just sound and technology, how that's possible. So even though you can't see nothing, I think that what we learned today was to not let anything hold you back, because you find a way. There's always a way, and you can use the tools such as technology to help you propel into whatever you guys want to achieve. So I think that's all for today. I'd like to thank Binus CB for being here with us today. Also, thank you. This is our first time in the FX Auditorium, so this is going to be really exciting. I think this is really cool. Thanks again to our speakers for your time. I think you guys, if you have any more questions, you can approach them, take a photo with them afterwards. Other than that, hashtag TMT Binus. My name's Josh Van, guys. Thank you so much for another session of Tech Media Talk.